يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة، غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء، يا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. يا جنة الفردوس ما بال الحشا، قد بات يصلي من كذا وقودي، لم تحتفي لك في عهود مثل ما لأبي الرضا لم تحتفل بعهودي، جلبوه قصرا من مدينة جده، جلبوه قصرا من مدينة جده نحو المدائن موثقا بقيودي، حبسوه طامورة لم ينفجر، حبسوه في طامورة لم ينفجر، ليل الشقاء عن صبحها بعمودي، تبت يد الرجس الرشيد بفعله، إذ لبس فيما قد جناه برشيدي، برشيدي. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في محكم كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق: ولا يغتب بعضكم بعضا أيحب أحدكم أن يأكل لحم أخيه ميتا فكرهتموه واتقوا الله إن الله تواب رحيم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Let's have a louder salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. One of the biggest diseases in the society today, and from the beginning of Nabi Adam alayhi salam, and probably up until Judgment Day, is the disease of the tongue. Having a tongue that does not abide by the rules that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put for it, just as He put rules for everything else that we do in our lives. Every single thing that we have, every single asset that we have in this life, there's a rule for it. There's rules, guidelines, regulations. The tongue is one of those tools that we have that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not only put guidelines, but many guidelines. And told us that this tool is so powerful that it can take you to the level higher than the angels and can do the same oppositely, take you to levels lower than animals themselves. Because it's such a powerful tool. It's such a powerful tool. if I find a tool that holds so much power in itself, I use that tool negatively, the negative effect is just as powerful as the tool. If I use that positively, the positive effect is just as positive as the tool itself. Similar as the tongue. And for that reason, you see that the tongue has been one of the biggest factors for human advancement and oppositely for human degeneration, degradation. You see that nations collided and killed each other over something that was said. You see that people killed their own brothers, family members, over a little word that slipped out of the tongue of that other person, of the other side. Because us as humans, that's how we communicate. It's through the tongue. The most powerful way of communication is through the tongue. Anything that you are thinking in your mind, the most powerful way to convey that message is through the tongue. And so the ill intentions of those who have ill intentions are conveyed through their tongue. The one who has good intentions is also conveyed through their tongue as well. And so you see it's extremely powerful. And you see the Imams of Al-Bayt alayhimus salam told us how powerful it was and told us to tame it because it's a beast that could be used in planting what is to be harvested in the hereafter, good plants, something great. Just like, for example, the bull that you use to plant your crops to harvest so you can live on another year. But the bull itself, if you show it something red, you could have been the person taming it all this time. Show it something red, wear a green shirt, wear a red shirt, it will come kill you. The first thing it will do is come and kill you, no matter who you are. Similar is the tongue. And so you see that the Imams of Al-Bayt stressed on taming this beast to the degree where they said that the tongue and how you use your tongue will tell you your final destination in the hereafter. Look what Amir al-Mu'mineen says. Amir al-Mu'mineen has this way of speaking, which is beautiful. If you guys notice, if you guys read his sermons, he has a very beautiful way of speaking, where he comes and links little things to each other and gives you a big picture in the end. And I'll show you what I mean here. He says, Imam Ali alayhi salam said, "Man kathura kalamuhu kathura khata'uh." He begins with something so simple, very simple equation. He says, the person who speaks a lot, I don't care what he's saying or she's saying, the one who speaks a lot, man kathura kalamuhu kathura khata'uh. The one who speaks a lot, their sins or their mistakes will be just as much as they speak. A lot. وَمَنْ كَثُرَ خَطَأُهُ قَلَّ حَيَاؤُهُ. And the one who makes a lot of mistakes, their shame goes down. They lose shame. وَمَنْ قَلَّ حَيَاؤُهُ قَلَّ وَرَعُهُ. And the one who loses shame, loses piety. وَمَنْ قَلَّ وَرَعُهُ مَاتَ قَلْبُهُ. And the one who loses their piety, their heart has died. وَمَنْ مَاتَ قَلْبُهُ دَخَلَ النَّارِ. And the one whose heart has died will enter where? Hell or heaven? Hell. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is saying, therefore, the one who speaks a lot, his final or her final destination is where? Hell. He gave it to you in a chain, but ended up with a huge conclusion. The one who does not tame his tongue will end up in hell. Similarly, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, look what he said. He said, هل يكب الناس على مناخيرهم أو مناخرهم في النار إلا حصائد ألسنتهم. He says, is there another reason for people to be thrown on their noses in hellfire? Look at the imagery. Is there another reason for people to be thrown on their noses into hellfire except what their tongues have produced? Except what their tongues have produced. So they said that if you tame it, the tongue, you will end up somewhere you want to be. If you do not tame the tongue, you will end up somewhere you do not want to be. And for this reason, you see that some of the companions of Rasulullah and some of the companions of the Imams used to go to such degrees to tame their tongues. To such a degree where there's a companion who used to put a piece of stone in their mouth. Please pay attention. A piece of stone in their mouth. So when they're sitting and talking to someone, or they're sitting listening to someone, before a word slips out of their tongue, and that's happened to us a lot, where you're sitting with someone, you don't want to necessarily say it, but it comes out. So they don't slip, they have this stone in their mouth. So if they do want to speak, how long is it going to take? How long does it take to take that stone out of their mouth? A second or two? In that time, they'll go back to their thoughts and say, should I say what I want to say or not? Look to that degree. Look to what degree. Another alim, it said he hired a person to walk around with him and just record what he says. So at the end of the day, he can read, what did I say today? Imagine. So tonight we want to speak about the tongue, the diseases of the tongue. And we want to address it. You know why we want to address it? Here's the reason why. I want you guys just to listen for a second. Personal experience. I'm going to talk to you as a personal experience. I like to do this. I like to talk personal. I don't like formalities. Let's talk personal. Everywhere I personally went, and I think you guys agree, okay? Everywhere I went, whether it's in this community, whether it's with my own family, whether it's in another community, everywhere we go, we see the same exact problems in the community. The same exact. Whether you go to school or you go to the mu'assasa, whether you go to the masjid or you go to the park, same exact problems. Whether you're living here, Iraq, Tampa, Florida, wherever, New York, I don't care where you are. It's all the same problems. Everyone is talking about each other. And everyone is speaking ill against each other. You come to the masjid, you hear it more than you hear it in school. And each and every place has the same exact problem. This mosque hates this mosque. And this person in this mosque doesn't go here because of what that person said about them. So it's an epidemic that's everywhere. It's an epidemic that's everywhere. And if you find an epidemic in every single place in the world, in an area, then you know that the same exact problem is in every single place. If there's an Ebola outbreak throughout the United States, then there is Ebola in every single city. That's just the way it is. There is a problem, and that same problem is everywhere. And that is people not being able to tame their tongues. That is the hijabi sister that is sitting with another hijabi sister talking about the third hijabi sister. That is the hajj with the beard that holds the masbaha that says hajj al-filani is kada wa kada wa kada. And so that hajj doesn't come to this mosque, and that mosque doesn't like to speak with the other mosque. I speak about this because it's not only a problem in Windsor, it's a problem in other places that, alhamdulillah, I had a chance to go to, where people are in lawsuits. I'm talking to you about mosques are in lawsuits with each other over what this person said about this person, and for years and years and years they've been in lawsuits. So it's not an issue of, wallah, he wanted to pick a topic for tonight and he's just going to speak about it. No. It's a bigger problem than that. It's a bigger problem than that. Sometimes it's one word. Sometimes, honestly, it's one word that destroys so much. A flame can be this big, but it can burn down all of Windsor. A word can be this big, but can burn down everything that you have built, or he has built, or he has built for years and years. So today, my brothers and sisters, tonight, we want to talk about it. Let's address it. Let's see what ghiba really means. Let's see what namima really means. Let's see the effects of namima. For those who don't know what namima is, we'll talk about it. Namima was responsible for a Hawza student leaving Islam before he left this world, before dying. Namima. And we'll talk about it. We'll talk about how that happened, inshallah. So we're going to ask 3 questions. And we're going to link it back to Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam. Number 1, what are the 2 biggest diseases of the tongue? Simple question. And there's a lot you can say. We can have lectures on this one question. What are the diseases of the tongue? 2 of them we're going to talk about tonight. Second question, how do we utilize our tongues in the right way? A lot of the times we hear, wallah, ghiba this, we shouldn't be doing ghiba, we shouldn't be doing this, we shouldn't be doing that. Well, what should we do? There's a difference. Let's talk positively for a change, not negatively. We'll talk negative, what we shouldn't do. Now we're in the neutral zone. Now let's talk positive. 3, how did Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam utilize his tongue? Please listen. How did Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam utilize his tongue to destroy the plans of the person who put him in jail for 14 years? And imagine I enclose you in a box for 14 years and you don't have anything to support yourself with except this tongue. And this tongue is the reason for my downfall. Allahu Akbar. How powerful is our tongue? And what can we do with it? So let's learn from Imam Al-Kathim tonight, inshallah. So let's begin with Allah salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the diseases of the tongue that we are going to speak about tonight is ghiba and namima. Ghiba and namima. First and foremost, let's begin with ghiba, the one that we all know about, or we think that we know about. What's the definition of ghiba? First, the definition of ghiba is as follows. When I speak about another person's defects that they are trying to keep secret from other people. That's exactly what ghiba means. So let's just say I had a defect, and brother Ali, masalan, he comes and he knows of my defect. He knows of my problem. Masalan, I got a divorce and I don't want anyone to know. Me and my wife are having problems at home. He doesn't want anyone, I don't want anyone to know. He finds out in some way, shape, or form, whether purposely or not. And he goes out and he tells brother Hussein, masalan, Ahmad kada 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 kada. Ahmad got a divorce. Ahmad's having problems with his wife, masalan. This is the definition of ghiba. This is what ghiba means. And here there are two issues that I want to really pinpoint. The first one is that ghiba itself, brothers and sisters, please pay attention to this. Ghiba itself is where you tell the truth, okay? How many times have we heard someone saying, wallah, you know, they're gossiping, and we tell them, why are you gossiping? They say, wallah, it's actually true. I'm not saying something wrong. That's exactly what ghiba is. Brothers and sisters, ghiba is not when you make rumors about people. Rumors are incorrect. Rumors are lies. Ghiba is the truth. Ghiba is the truth about another person. But do they want that truth to be known? Absolutely not. And that's why it's called ghiba. So if I'm talking about a person, the fact that it's true does not make it correct. The fact that it's true does not make it correct. And here's a personal, again, let's make it personal. Here's a personal encounter. Not long ago, a few days ago. I personally was walking. I came to a restaurant, and I saw this man that I know. He works in a company. He owns his own company. And I know of a friend that works with him or used to work with him. And so I asked him, how is that guy doing? Is he still working for you? Kada. He says, no, we actually had to fire him. So, okay. And I didn't want to drag on the conversation because I know where it was going. So he said, yeah, we had to fire him, and he did this and he did that, and he started lying to me. And from the beginning, from the first day that he was with me, he was lying to me, and he kept going on and on. And I was just sitting there and saying, I said to him, okay, yani, with all the respect to you, with all the respect, what's the fruit? What's going to come out of this? Yani, you're sitting there and talking to me about Muhammad, or whatever his name was, okay? You're talking to me about Muhammad and saying, wallah, he was lying from the first day, and I have the text messages to show you, and here you go. Like, why would you tell me? What's the reason? What are you going to get out of it? Am I Muhammad's dad that I'm going to go to Muhammad and I'm going to... There's no need for you to tell me. And they say, no, he said, no, it's our duty to say. Because this person he did this, and this. No, it's absolutely not correct. The fact that it's true, the fact that I'm able to prove what I'm saying does not justify what I'm saying about you. Does not justify it at all. That's the first point we need to understand. Number one. Number two, let me understand what ghiba means. Specifically, what ghiba actually means. Let's say I'm those people that I don't care. Let's at least just say that. Let's put it out there. Because it seems like a lot of people don't care. So let's just say I'm one of those people. I absolutely don't care. And I want to do ghiba. No problem. For now, let's stay there. And I have absolutely no problem, no limits whatsoever. Let me know that what I'm doing is actually ghiba and not something worse. Let me understand that when I make fun of someone, it may not necessarily be ghiba as ghiba, the title, but it may be something much more than ghiba. In fiqh books, my brothers and sisters, they outline everything. Things that you don't even think about, they outline them. And they tell you, bab al-muharramat, the things that are haram to do, and they'll start listing. And they'll start listing and listing and listing. Usually in fiqh, there are clauses, there are statements. Mas'ala number kada. And it's just a little line. Mas'ala kada. It's a line. When it comes to Bab al-Muharramat, the Sayyid sits and writes and writes and writes and says, this is haram, you shouldn't do it. And he keeps speaking about it, says it. One of the titles is Dhikr Nawaqis al-Mu'min wa Mathalibih. Extremely important. One of the titles, my brothers and sisters, is where I look at a person and I state their defects that are apparent. This person is ignorant. This person's dumb. This person's slow. I understand he's slow. I understand I'm slow. I understand that this person, masalan, doesn't look the best. Is wearing an ugly shirt today. I go and I say, he's wearing an ugly shirt today. Masalan, he limps. He has a lazy eye. He has this, she has that. I go and I say it. Brothers and sisters, that may not necessarily be ghiba, but potentially may not be ghiba, but it might be something much more. Maybe something much more. And the effect of what I'm saying might be much, much more than what I intend. And I remember an example of what I'm saying. Please, brothers and sisters, listen to this one. And I've seen this. And I'm talking to you from personal experience. And Ashura and Shahr Ramadan, when we kind of open the floor for people to come and read a majlis if they want, read a dua, read a latmi, do something for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Not just sit and cry for Abu Abdullah. Sitting and crying is great, but serve Abu Abdullah. This mimbar is not for myself, it's for anyone that has the ability to come and sit down here. This pulpit is for anyone that has the ability to serve. This person wants to come up and read a dua. This person wants to come up and read a latmi. So what do I say? I look at that person and they don't have the best voice. Wallah, those are the people I respect. It's not the person who has the voice and sits down. It's the person who does not have the voice and serves Abu Abdullah. It's the person who does not have the ability to walk, but walks to Abu Abdullah. That's the person I respect. This person comes up and he stands and they read a latmi for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And instead of us supporting it, instead of some of the brothers, and I've seen it, supporting it, they laugh at this person. Wallah, he has a disgusting voice. He doesn't sound good. Do you know what I'm doing? I may not be doing ghiba, put ghiba aside. But I'm looking at the servant of Abu Abdullah and I'm degrading that person. The person who degrades the servant of Abu Abdullah, do you know who that person is really degrading? They're degrading the person that they were just crying for. They're degrading the person that they left everything for and came here to cry for and listen to their story and learn from them. Why do we say that when people come, they sit and then they leave and nothing changes? Why? Because right after, we go back to what we were doing yesterday. And we don't notice. If I want to do ghiba, if I don't care, let me know what ghiba is for me to do it. And let me not do something much more than ghiba. Let me not do something much more than ghiba that has effects that are much more than ghiba itself. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And on that, before we move on, something very quickly. One needs to understand that this small word that I say, right? This little action that I do to kind of like, I wink at that person, I wink, masalan, just to get that person's attention. These little things that I see that don't make a difference can make all the difference in the world. Can make all the difference in the world, and I speak to myself before. And here I remember a hadith, one hadith. Please listen to this hadith, because it really makes us question everything. This hadith. Amir al-Mu'mineen said this. He said, do not look at a sin and say it's small. Potentially that sin could be the reason you enter hell. I enter hell. Ahmad Bazzi enters hell. And do not look at a good deed and say that this is small, because potentially that good deed is the one that makes you enter heaven. And do not look at a human being and say that they are nothing, because potentially that person is waliyullah on earth. This person is the companion, the friend of God on earth. Never should I look at a word and say the effects are small. It's fine. Never should I say they're talking about someone, let them be. It's not my business. Because this, let them be, it's not my business, could mean my demise later on. And here there's a story of a alim deen. This alim deen, my brothers and sisters, was a big alim, a big scholar. And I heard this story from a very spiritual brother. May Allah help him. May Allah keep him. He said this alim deen was once walking back to his house. And these ulama, the ulama of before, they were poor, right? They're not like some people today. They're poor, right? They're not taking people's money. They were living, the real life. وَلِلْأَسَفْ يعني. So they were poor. This alim deen bought apples for his family, for his children. Fruit, something nice, something sweet at the end of the day. And he was walking home. And he gave that fruit basket, or he had the fruit basket and he saw, a beggar. And he said to himself, I either have the chance right now, go back home, give this fruit basket to my kids, let them have something at the end of the day to kind of quench their thirst, in a sense, or I can give it to this beggar. He chose to give it to the beggar, and he went home with nothing in his hand. Years passed, moments pass, this alim dies. This alim dies, and he is being judged. If brothers can please pay attention. He's being judged. The Malik says to him, he says, Alim, Sheikh, see your whole life, the whole life, everything that you did in your whole entire life, meant nothing. Meant nothing. Had no effect. But you're going to go to heaven. Why? Remember that day you were walking home? Yeah. Remember those apples that you had? Yeah. Remember that beggar that you gave them to? Yeah. That's what took you to heaven. That small act saved this man. And he was a alim deen. So don't let me judge. I should not judge and say, it's a small action. It's a small word, and it will have no effect. Every single word that I say, let me think of its effects. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. طيب. I recited an ayah in the beginning. The ayah that is speaking about ghiba in the Quran. That everyone, alhamdulillah, seems to know, or at least seems to have heard of. So let's delve into the ayah. Let's see what it's actually saying. Let's actually go deep into the ayah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا أَيَحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. Look what he says. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks, He doesn't just speak to get your attention. He speaks to a reality. He speaks to something that He has created that will come later on and show itself later on. He says, and do not do ghiba to each other. Would you like to eat the meat, the flesh of your brother as he is dead? Look at the question. Look at the question. Would you like to eat the flesh of your dead brother? Why is he asking that? What's the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks that question? When you go to the ulama of tafsir, Allama Naraqi, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pointing to a reality that we don't understand, we don't see. See, everything in the world, there's a reality behind it that we may not understand, right? And sometimes we ask, why is this haram? Why is the haram type of music haram? Well, it doesn't make me sin. There's a reality behind it that we don't see. What's that reality? Everything has that reality. What's the reality of ghiba? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, you are speaking, I am speaking to a person. I am saying something towards a person. What's the reality? It's the total opposite. I am taking that person and I'm eating their flesh. The words are coming out of my mouth towards another person about someone. It's output. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that output of words is in reality input of what? That person's flesh. So on the day of judgment, that person who was speaking ill of another human being, what is their punishment? That they eat the rotting flesh of another human being. They eat the dead flesh of another human being. Why? Is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala barbaric? No. The human being himself is barbaric for bringing on that action. Bringing the action towards themselves. They didn't know what the reality of the action was. They didn't know the reality of the action. It's not God who is barbaric for saying I will be burned in hell. It's me who was barbaric that I knew that this action is going to burn me in hell, and I am the one who lit the fire with my own hands. So when I say I don't see why it's haram, you don't see why. But the one who sees everything told you why. Told me why. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very much like that person on the hill. You are coming towards that hill, but you're at the bottom. I'm at the bottom. He's looking down. I only see 20 feet in front of me. God sees 100 feet in front of me. And He says to me, Ahmad, look 80 feet in front of you. If you take this path, there's going to be an animal. There's going to be a trap. You're going to fall off a cliff. You're going to fall into water. You're going to die. I only see 20. To me, that path is beautiful. To me, that path has nothing on it. But to God, He's looking 80 feet in front. He's looking 80 meters behind, in front of me. I'm looking at 20. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells me, Ahmad, don't do this action, it's because there's a reality behind that action that I don't see. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And from here you see a lot of ahadith that speak about this. Or you see a lot of ayat that speak in the same tone. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا. If we can have this, the sisters in the back, sorry. Can you just close the door? I'm very sorry. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. SubhanAllah, these little things, they just get my attention. He says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَأْكُلُونَ أَمْوَالَ الْيَتَامَى ظُلْمًا إِنَّمَا يَأْكُلُونَ فِي بُطُونِهِمْ نَارًا. Those who eat the food or the wealth of the orphans, they only eat, innama means only. They only eat fire in their stomachs. Yani I have someone, an orphan that has food in front of him, has wealth, has money. I take that orphan in, I put him under my roof and I say he has money. He's not going to remember. Let me take it. Let me use it. No problem. I buy food with that money. I bring that food home and I eat it. I feed my family with it. God says, that piece of meat that I put in my mouth, I think it's meat. The reality that I see is a piece of meat. God says, you don't eat meat. You are only eating fire. You are eating, I am eating the punishment that will come after death. See, everything that we do, it happens again, right? History repeats itself, right? We always hear that. History does truly repeat itself. I will be punished in this world before the next. But the punishment that I see, that I go through in this world, is in the form of a decorative desire. The poison that I put in my mouth is very sweet. It's beautiful. Let me wait a bit, and I'll start feeling it in my stomach. Very much the same way. Very much the same way. God says, if I eat that piece of meat, I'm only eating fire. Only eating fire. So before I sin, my brothers and sisters, let me remember, what am I actually doing? Before I look, what am I looking at? Before I listen, what am I listening to? What am I listening to? And it makes a huge difference. And it makes a huge difference. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And on this topic, there are many stories, many ahadith. One of them is the known story of when the woman was sitting with the Prophet and she started speaking about another person in front of the Prophet. She started doing ghibah. And so the Prophet told this woman to spit. The Prophet told this woman to spit, and a piece of meat came from her mouth. It's as if the Prophet ﷺ took that punishment of Yawm al-Qiyamah and gave her a little piece of it and said, this is the reality. To show others around her and herself and for people to come to listen to that story. This is the reality behind that story. Similar is the story of another woman who spoke really bad to her servant. She was fasting. She spoke ill words to her servant and she was fasting. The Prophet told her, go eat. Khalas. Go eat. If you are fasting for the spiritual fast, you've just broken it. We have spiritual fast and physical fast. Physical fast, don't drink water. Don't inhale smoke. Don't eat. That's physical. Spiritual fast, don't do any of these things. Don't lie. Don't speak about other people. And that's the reality of fasting. That's what fasting truly means, right? That's what we want. We don't want the physical one. We want the spiritual one. Prophet said to her, look, you just broke your fast. I don't know what you're doing. There's no reason for you to be doing what you're doing. Go eat. Last story on this. And this one is going to be shock to a lot of you. But I remember hearing this story from a famous sheikh. This sheikh is famous for taghsil al-amwat. He washes bodies of people. And he's famous for it. He's known. He's renowned. And I believe he lives in Saudi. This sheikh has a lot of stories. Because when a person dies, a lot of the realities show. And sometimes those realities translate into this world. They come back into this world as a lesson. He tells a story and he says, this story is recorded and I have the recordings and I have witnesses. I have everything to prove this story actually occurred. And I actually spoke to Al-Hilal Al-Ahmar, which is like the Red Cross almost. And they came and the medical teams came and we saw this story happen in front of our eyes, in a sense. So he says this, a woman was brought into the place where they wash the bodies. And he himself is not washing the body because a man can't wash the body of a woman, but he has an employee that is washing the body who is a woman. And she's professional, right? And she is very truthful in what she's saying. But they bring this woman in, and she has her children, her brother, her sisters, all of them. There are about 7 people that come in all together with the dead woman. So the story goes as this. They bring the woman in, and she's put on the cart, and they're going to take her off the cart and put her on the table to begin the washing ceremony. And usually, how many people does it take to lift a body? Maybe 3 or 4 people. They said that we tried to lift this woman, to take her off this cart, and we were unable to. We were physically unable to lift this woman with our own bare hands and put her on the table. So the employee calls the sheikh and says, this is what's happening. We're unable to, we can't. Said to her, okay, I'm not sure what's happening, but from my experience, what you do is take 3 cloths, twist them, and put them horizontally under her, and lift her like that. Have 2 people hold from each end, and lift her, don't touch her, lift her on the table. So they did that. They put her on the table, and she was not facing the Qibla. So they tried to move her. They were unable to move her. Unable to move her. It said that they had to actually use the cloths to move her and maneuver her and make her face the Qibla. Tayyib. It's not that big of a deal at this point. The employee says, I took the water and I started putting water on this woman's body. And she said, Qasaman billah, she swears, that when I put the water on this woman's body, her arms flexed and her arms held the table as I was washing this woman. She got scared, she was shocked. She called the sheikh and said, I am not washing a woman that is alive. This woman is alive, I'm not washing her. He said, this woman, we have all the documents, she's dead. She said, I am not washing a woman who is alive. Done. She says, call the Red Cross people, let them come and let them see. She moved as I was washing her. So the medical teams come and they test the woman. She's dead. She's actually dead. She said, I'm not washing a woman who's alive. Done. Khalas. So the family members said, Tayyib, if you don't want to wash her, sit on the side, tell us what to do, we'll wash her. The women start washing the body, and one of the women that came in with the body, the daughter of the deceased woman, sits beside the employee, the woman that was trying to wash in the beginning, and she starts crying and crying and crying and crying. The employee says, what's happening? Why are you crying so much? What just happened in front of me? You know something, you're not telling me. She didn't want to say anything in the beginning until they said, we will not finish. We want to know what's happening. This is not normal. Listen to what this woman was doing in her life. She said, my mother did salah, did sawm, did all of the wajibat, was a great, great woman, was a religious woman. She had one little tiny problem. This is what she says. She had one little tiny problem. She did ghiba. She did namima. She had a disease, a real psychological disease, where she herself would go to parties, go to weddings uninvited, just to see what this person is wearing to tell that other person. That's what she went for. To the degree where she would make conflicts between her own children. To that degree. She said, we tried everything. We brought her tapes, we brought her sheikhs, we brought her CDs, we brought her everything. And the response that she would give us every single time, you know what it was? It's the same exact response that we get every single time we say, please stop. You can't judge me. You don't know what I'm going through. Who are you to say? Same thing. Same response. Same response. And she kept doing that up until she died. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made her an example. You know why He made her an example? Because she would end off her statements saying, between me and God, it's not up to you. Don't talk to me about it. Don't judge me. This is between me and God. And so God said, no problem. If it's between me and you, then I will show you the action that you actually did. I will show you the reality of the action that you actually did. But I will not only show it to you, I will show it to your family. And I will show it to a world-renowned sheikh who will speak of your misdoings, of your sin, so that you become an example for the world. This woman was feeling the water on her body as fire. And it is said in the ahadith that the person who is sinful will be washed with boiling hot water as a punishment, as torment, as torture for what they have done. And this boiling hot water is the reality of the action that they were doing. So let us watch out, my brothers and sisters. This small action that we say, it's between me and God, goes a long way. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The second disease is what we call namima. Namima, my brothers and sisters, potentially is worse than ghiba. And it's one that most of us don't know. Don't know the real meaning of, but we hear a lot of it. And it's actually the reason for all of the conflict. It's the reason for all of the conflict. You know what namima is? Namima, my brothers and sisters, is when I hear, masalan, Ahmad and the brother over here speaking about another brother. I hear it. I hear them speaking to themselves. And that other brother is not listening. That other brother doesn't know what's happening. Me, I listen to that, I don't say anything. I go to that other brother and say, these guys were talking about you and they said kada, kada, kada. That right there, my brothers and sisters, is the gasoline to the flame. That right there, my brothers and sisters, is the water to the electricity. That right there, my brothers and sisters, is the medium by which the negativity, the darkness, and the disease spreads through. That's the medium. If I want to spread masalan electricity from here to there, I can have the biggest source of electricity here. If there's no way for me to get it there, I'm never going to get light there. And that big source is never going to have an effect there. If all of the ghiba, if all of the gossip that was happening in our communities stayed between those who were speaking, we would never have conflict. It's that third party. It's that third party that listens and goes and tells everyone else. That's the medium. That's the wire. That's the gasoline. That's what starts the conflict. And from here, we understand when the ayah said, Al-fitnatu ashaddu min al-qatl. We understand what that means. that conflict is worse than murder. Conflict is worse than murder. You know why it's worse than murder? If I kill someone, they're dead. They have no effect on anything that has just happened. That's the ghibah. I just killed that person. But if I make conflict, I not only killed a human being, I killed that human being, resurrected him, and told him go get revenge from everyone that has wronged you in this world. And that person's sole goal is to get revenge and to hurt others. That's what namima is, my brothers and sisters. And that's why it could potentially be the worst thing a person does. And I've heard it. Well, I'm looking out for my boy. No, you're not looking out for your boy. You're absolutely not looking out for anyone. You're not looking out for society. You're not looking out for your friends. You're not looking out for yourself. Because the conflict that comes from this affects everyone else. And the Prophet puts it beautifully. He says, you, us, the nation, is like a boat. We're all on one big boat. If one person does something to that boat, tries to make a hole in that boat, it's not them who's going to drown. It's everyone on the boat. Everyone on the boat is going to drown in that water. Islam is the same way. When one person does something, it affects everyone else. And I know that the majlis just started upstairs, so we'll go a bit quicker. But there's one story, my brothers and sisters, that I want you guys to listen to. This story happened with a Hawza student. A Hawza student of a big alim deen. When the stories happen in the Hawza al-Almiyah, when they happen in Najaf, when they happen in Qom, they're not just bogus, they're reality. And this story is mentioned in Kitab al-Akhlaq, the books of Akhlaq, the books of ethics, morals. This alim deen had a student, his best student, his top student. This student, my brothers and sisters, was better than everyone in the class. Better than everyone in the class, and this alim deen was a very, very, very renowned alim. One day, the student he gets a disease, he grows ill, and the news comes to the alim deen that this student is about to pass away from this world. He's on his deathbed. Khalas, it's done. There's no more. So the alim deen is greatly affected by that. This is my best student. This is the person with the most potential in my class. This is the person who will take my spot in the future, potentially even more. He goes to the house of this student, and please listen. Please listen. It goes a long way when I say something. Please listen. He goes to the student's house. The student is on his deathbed. Final moments. So the alim deen is smart. He picks up the Quran, opens it to Surah Yasin, and begins to read. The student looks at the alim and he says, I don't want to hear those words. The alim deen says, sure. Final moments, we will give you what you want. The student is in his last moments in this world. He's a Hawza student, not a college student. So the alim says, say La ilaha illallah. The last moment. What would you do in your last moment? Say La ilaha illallah. The student looks at his teacher that he's been with for years and he says, I don't believe in any of this. And he dies like that. Done. Khalas. The alim deen is struck. This is the person that I invested all my time in. This is the person that was at the top of my class. This is the person who had potential to take my spot in the future. He died a kafir. Not even believing in anything. Not a fasiq, kafir. He goes to sleep. And when these ulama deen have dreams, there's a reason. It's a reality. Something's being played in front of them. Look at the imagery. He says, I seen this man being dragged to hell. Dragged to hell. Why? He's a kafir. So he asks him, what's happening? What just happened in front of me? You were this, you were this, you were this. What caused you to be this way? You know what he said? He said, I did 3 things in my life that brought me to this point. And these three actions had such an effect on my heart, my soul, that at the very last moment, I couldn't see the reality. The reality that I have been studying for years and years and years, that very last moment, I couldn't see the reality. There was something over my eyes. I did not used to pray. Put that aside. طيب, you didn't used to pray. I had a disease and I was drinking alcohol for it. Put that aside. طيب, حطه على جنب. What's the last one? I used to do namima. I used to hear what Ali used to say about the Talib Hawza Hussein. And I used to go tell him. I used to hear what Muhammad used to say about him. And I used to go tell him. That's what led me to where I am today. The action that I had destroyed my years and years and years of not believing, not going to the masjid, not sitting in the majlis Imam al-Hussein and crying. Hawza. Hawza. Putting everything aside. All my wealth, everything. My own future, I put it aside. Whether I'm going to get married or not, I'm putting it aside. I'm even working for my food, for my wealth. Put it aside for Hawza. That person was the one who went to hell. Why? Namima, the tongue. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One more time, please. So the second point, I wanna go a bit faster quickly. How do we utilize our tongues? How should we utilize our tongues? The first way that we can utilize our tongues, and I just want to say them quickly a bit, just because I don't want to take too much time. Sometimes short and sweet is the best. The way that we utilize our tongues is in two ways. The first way is speaking the truth when it's time to speak the truth. A lot of people, my brothers and sisters, have a problem with this. Have a problem. And here I'll tell you where the problem is. A lot of the times we say we should speak the truth, and we don't really understand what that means. Here's a scenario. What are you going to do? Here's a scenario, okay? You don't listen to music, inshallah. None of us here listens to the haram music. طيب? Astaghfirullah. So none of us listen to the haram music, okay? Your friend comes and picks you up from school. Person you know picks you up from school. You get in the car, and they have the music on blast. At that point, or they're not on blast, it's in the background. You sit in the car. What do you do? What do you do? What do you actually do? What do I actually do? Now I'm going to say, well, I'm going to tell him to turn it off. Yeah, I'll put you in that situation. The Shaykh himself would have a problem telling him to take it off. The Shaykh himself would have a problem telling him, please put that down. I'm not comfortable. Because it's going to make the situation awkward. It's going to make the situation weird. Would I do that? Would I jeopardize a relationship for what's correct? I don't know. Sometimes speaking the truth, my brothers and sisters, comes in ways that we don't understand. We don't really see it coming, but it comes. What would I do in that situation? Put it aside. Put that one aside. You're in your graduation, and I've seen this happen so many times. You are in your graduation. Exactly, the sister knows. You're in your graduation, there are 1,000 people staring at you. You're about to get your diploma. The person who's giving it to you turns out to be a man, and for the men, it turns out to be a woman. There are 1,000 people looking at you. You're wearing the hijab. You have your beard. At that point, you probably should have a beard. I hope you do. So you go up, and that person puts his hand out. What do you do? What do you actually do? No. You say, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. What do you actually do? What do I actually do? Do I go like this, or do I say, oh, it's okay, one time? No, what do I do? That time, my brothers and sisters, you speak the truth. You spoke the truth in front of who? 1,000 people. In front of 1,000 people, I just spoke the truth. Men and women should not have this type of contact. But will I do it? A lot of times you see, no, they don't do it. The hijabi woman does not do it. This brother that's always in the majalis does not do it. Does not know how to say, I cannot, my religion does not permit me to do it. Speak the truth. Sometimes it's with the tongue, sometimes it's with the action, and we'll move on from here. Number one. Number two, the way that I can utilize my tongue in the correct way is to bring happiness into the heart of the believing brother or sister. This is one of the best deeds that I can do. And a lot of times we don't really pay attention to it. Because we tend to think of our religion as a burdening religion. We tend to think our religion as something that puts a burden on us and not necessarily tells us to do something that has a positive influence on who we are, or just makes us smile. Makes us smile. Bringing happiness into the heart of that person. How am I going to bring the happiness into the heart of that person? Let me joke around with him. Let me say something funny. Let me make fun of him. Let me tease him. No problem. As long as I'm not hurting him, let me do it. When I'm sitting in the Sahara, right? When I'm chilling with my friends, let me take that gathering where I'm just laughing and just having some fun. Let me take it, make it ibadah. Let me take it and make it worship. When I have fun, when I put a smile on that person's face, let me do it qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala. Do you know what happens? There's a hadith. You know what the hadith says? It said, a person will be resurrected from their grave on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And on that day, it is said you will run from your parents. You will run from your wife, your husband, the one that you loved your whole entire life. The person who you woke up with every single day. That person, you'll run away from them. The woman that has a child will throw away her own baby on that day. That person will be resurrected, and with them is another being, a being of light, a being of beauty. And that being will stay with them throughout the journey of mahshar, throughout the journey of judgment day. In front of God, when God is judging human beings, when people are being thrown in hell, put in heaven, that being will stay with them and guide them and be there. Be there with them. When it's said to that person, you are now allowed to go to heaven, that person will look to that being and say, what are you? Who are you? You've been with me the entire time. I ran away from everyone that I knew, but this person that I didn't even know comforted me the whole entire time and stayed with me. Who are you? That being will look and say, I am the surur. I am that happiness that you put in the heart of your mu'min, brother or sister. I am that happiness. Remember when we said the actions take on a different form than what we know? It goes both ways, positively and negatively as well. Goes both ways. Goes both ways. So we'll move on now to how Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam utilized the tongue. Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam had pretty much nothing except the tongue, his actions and what he could say. He had nothing. Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam was put in prison for 14 years. 14. Yani if Imam Al-Kathim lived up until 50. Up until 50. A quarter of his life, potentially, he was in prison. Imagine. What effect can you do if you're 14 years in prison? What effect can you have on a nation? What effect can you have on an empire? What effect can you have on an empire that put you in prison for 14 years? 14 years. Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam, with his tongue, with his actions, not with his sword, changed the lives of people. Kept the Shias that were on the outside, kept them on the straight path. For 14 years, they didn't see their Imam. And he kept them on the straight path. Many stories, many ways the Imam alayhi salam did this. The Imam alayhi salam would utilize his tongue to speak to the jailer, to the person who put him in jail, and make them a lover of Al-Bayt alayhimus salam. The person who put him in jail. The person who was standing guard outside his door, he would speak to them and bring them to the path of Al-Bayt. To the degree that Harun al-Rashid would have to move the Imam from prison to prison because he had such an effect on the people who put him in prison. To the people who put him in prison, he had effect on their lives. And another story, another instance, Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam was in his jail cell. He was in his jail cell. Harun al-Rashid wanted the Imam to fall, wanted to so and so expose the Imam, quote unquote, expose the Imam. So what did he do? He brought up the weakness of every human being, their instinctual desires. He told a woman, go into the room, go into the cell of Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam. Dress in such a way to seduce the Imam alayhi salam. Harun al-Rashid and the jailer, they sat confident that we are going to come the next day and the Imam alayhi salam will be exposed. This woman who was known to do the most disgusting acts. They open the jail cell and they see Imam Al-Kathim in one corner And this woman who yesterday was the worst of women, prostrating to God in the other corner of the room. They asked, what just happened? This woman was something totally different yesterday. What happened? They asked her. She said, I came into the room. And Imam Al-Kathim was praying. He did not even look at me. And in one hadith, I believe it says, I saw as if the room opened and the malaika were doing tasbih with Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam. I was a woman who was coming in on a man who was away from his family, his friends, everyone was lonely for 14 years and he didn't even look at me. I changed. I'm done. With the action, with the tongue, Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam changed this woman from the worst of the worst to the best person, to the best person of her time potentially. And the last way that Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam used his tongue and saved all the Shias. And that's what led to his death. And imagine you have a person for 14 years. You never thought of killing this person. What led to the Imam's death? This incident. Imam Al-Kathim alayhi salam is taken into the jail of As-Sindi ibn Shahik. As-Sindi ibn Shahik was known to be one of the worst enemies of Al-Bayt. He hated Al-Bayt. And if Imam Al-Kathim was able to change of the hearts of the others, this man was like the people that killed Imam Al-Hussein, was Shimr ibn Dhil-Jawshan of his time. He was not going to change him. There are some hearts that are khalas, they're rocks. You can't get to them. Sindi ibn Shahik. Sindi ibn Shahik had the Imam alayhi salam and would torture the Imam alayhi salam and wanted anything to get rid of the Imam and hurt the Imam. So he went to Harun al-Rashid and he said, there's nothing. I can't make him budge. I torture him, I hit him, I do whatever, everything. I can't make him budge. Whatever you want from the Imam, from Moussa ibn Ja'far, you're not getting. You're just going to keep him in jail. He's not going to budge. You're not going to expose him. You're not going to show him for something that he's not. Because whatever you're trying to show him to be, he's absolutely not that. Done. There's nothing else we can do. So Harun al-Rashid says, okay, send him a message. 14 years in jail takes a toll on you. Send him a message. This is the last message. This is the last thing we're going to try. Send him a message and say to him, all you have to do is go to Harun al-Rashid, the tyrant of your time, and apologize and say, I wish I didn't do what I did. I wish I didn't believe in what I believed in. That's it. Give him the power, even by just your tongue. Say it. Just say it. Just say, Harun, you are correct. You are right. You are the rightful Khalifa. What you are doing is correct. Just say it. You don't even have to mean it. And in the hadith, I believe he says, you don't even have to mean it. Just say it. So Sindi ibn Shahik goes up to the Imam. The Imam is in Salat. The Imam is with God. He prays. Doesn't even look at Sindi ibn Shahik. Doesn't even look at him. He keeps praying and praying. Sindi ibn Shahik is there waiting for the Imam to finish. And he keeps going and going and going. Sindi finally, he says, okay, I'm not going to sit there and wait for this man forever. So he says, Harun al-Rashid says to you, you've been 14 years in prison. I will let you up. Just come up to me and apologize. Come up to me and just say something to make me happy. Do you know what Imam Al-Kathim says? Look what he says. He says, my demise is near. And I'm going to die soon. I'm going to die. And every day I feel agony and pain. A day of comfort will be taken away from you. And on the day of judgment, that day will come, where everyone will take what he deserves. And that's it. What you want me to say, I will never say. Because if I say it, the Shias themselves will not know where to go. Your ancestors would not know where to go. Al-Kathim said to Harun al-Rashid, you are the rightful Khalifa. Where are we to go? What is to happen to us? Anyone that follows the path of Moussa ibn Ja'far has now become exiled, has now become an enemy of the state because Ja'far himself told Harun al-Rashid, you are the rightful Khalifa. Imam al-Kadhim, 14 years of prison. Do you know what Imam al-Kadhim went through? Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was put in what you would call a tamura. You know what a tamura is? Yani at least if you were in a jail cell, you'd have at least somewhere to walk. Somewhere to walk. A tamura, my brothers and sisters, was a dark cage where light was unable to get light through. There's a little peep, there's a little hole where some air would come through for the person inside it to breathe. And that person had no space to move. Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was put in at-tamura for God knows how long. This is what Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam was enduring. For 14, God knows how many years. Huh? Say one word. That one word has a lot of potential. Say one word. Imam al-Kadhim said, no, I refuse. I refuse to take people astray. And so that's when Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam put his life in jeopardy. And Harun al-Rashid decided to kill the Imam. What happened in the last days of Imam al-Kadhim? It is narrated that in the last days of Imam al-Kadhim's life, he was transported from prison to prison until he ended up in the prison of As-Sindi ibn Shahid. This man was known for his hate for Al-Bayt and his extreme hate for Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam. So he placed our Imam in a dark, tight prison cell where he wouldn't know night from day, and chained him with 75 kilograms of metal. The Imam stayed in that tight cell for the longest periods of time. And when the Imam's chest would tighten, he would put his mouth beside a hole in the cell and try to breathe fresh air. When As-Sindi ibn Shahid saw this, he would slap your Imam in the face. Wa Imama wa Sayyida. The days weren't long until the orders of Harun al-Rashid came to poison the Imam with some grapes. So As-Sindi ibn Shahid took the grapes to the Imam al-Kadhim and forced the Imam to eat them. The Imam raised his hands to Allah and said, يا رب إنك تعلم أني لو أكلت قبل اليوم كنت قد أعنت على نفسي. Oh my Lord, you know if I ate before today, I would have killed myself, Ya Allah. So the Imam alayhi salam ate 10 grapes in total and stopped. So As-Sindi ibn Shahid said to the Imam, why don't you eat some more? The Imam looked at him and said, stop, you have gotten what you wanted. The poison traveled through the body of Imam al-Kadhim, painfully killing the Imam from within. For 3 long days the Imam suffered. For 3 long days the Imam's body was ablaze. For 3 long days the Imam lived in agony as the poison destroyed his insides. And over his head, As-Sindi ibn Shahid was insulting the Imam. When the Imam felt death approaching, he called a man by the name of Al-Masib ibn Zahra and said to him, I am leaving to Allah, as you know. So if I call for some water and I drink it, you see that I have become bloated and my body became green and yellow and red and other colors. So tell the tyrants of my death, I am leaving this world after 14 years of torture, after 14 years of being in cells and taken from prison to prison. The Imam left this world with his insides burning and his body red and green and yellow. So Al-Masib says to him, Al-Masib says, I was watching the Imam until he called for some water. He drank the water and the face of the Imam began to change colors. His forehead began to sweat and his moaning stopped. And he put down his hands and he stretched his feet, and the soul of the Imam left his body. رحم الله من نادى وكاظمها وسيدا وإماما. But the tragedy doesn't stop here, and this is something you can relate to, huh? But the tragedy doesn't stop here, because before the Imam died, he spoke to one of his companions and said to him, I will leave the prison on Friday, so meet me on the Rasafa bridge. On Friday, the Shias came to the bridge to see their Imam from long years away. The Imam ﷺ didn't come out to the people for 4 long years, huh? For 4 years. They were expecting the Imam to come out standing tall with his face outshining the sun, but they saw the Imam being carried by men, his hands still in chains, while they call out, this is the Imam of the Rafidah, this is the Imam of the ones who believe in Ali ibn Abi Talib. Take him now, dead, take him now, poison, take him after all this agony. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب سينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. يا الله نسألك اللهم وندعوك بأحب الخلق إليك محمد وآل محمد. يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله يا الله. Accept this majlis from us, Ya Allah. Make us sincere in our actions, Ya Allah. Help us in guarding our tongues, Ya Allah. Help us in obeying you, Ya Allah. Forgive us for our sins, Ya Allah. Forgive us for our sins, Ya Allah. Forgive us from our sins, Ya Allah. Allahumma ajil walika al-faraj. If there's a need, ask it now. This is the best time for dua. Allahumma ajil walika al-faraj. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والنصر يا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين.